We will call this meeting back to order. We are at 10.1 and we're going to discuss convention meeting requests for UBCM 2025 taking place in Victoria in September. We have a very short deadline to request these meetings, so we want to accomplish this today, please. There was a list described yesterday in the open meeting. It was also emailed out to the directors for consideration. Did you have anything to add at this point, or did you want to hear from the board on any items to review?
Great. Only wanted to say that this list is pretty much verbatim what I said at the last meeting, so there's nothing, it's totally transparent. And that this is only, this is not that this is what we recommend. This is what the staff have been hearing throughout the years and what has bubbled up. And this is for the board to have new ideas and things that we've missed. This is a board discussion. We're happy to support.
Yep. And I think what we were talking about yesterday is this is not the whole list. You're certainly welcome to add items. But I would suggest that we request all of these unless there's anyone that feels strongly we should not include one of them. I don't see anything that's concerning for me. But I'm here to listen to the board if there's anything that you want to remove from this list, or if there's anything you want to add to this list. Sal? Director Demare?
Ministry of Forests
Okay,
on the Hurley maintenance funding.
okay.
You want, I can do a write-up. The issue with it is that I think it is in 2015, 2015, $72,000, up to 15,000 of it to open it up for May long weekend and 3 full grades. And it hasn't been increased since that time.
Okay.
And anybody that drives it knows the condition of it.
Yeah. Clarifying questions? From either staff or board? I think we would just take the topic, request the meeting, and then we can flesh out the
Details.
prior to going to UBCM.
I've got the documents.
Okay. All right, Chris?
Just a question on the EDMA one, the MOTT obligations. I had thought that there's also a consideration here of asking the province to take responsibility for an action on what's happening on the Crown Ranch. Impacting other things, but this seems to be limited to just the notification of the public, and I just want to sort of question, are we thinking, and because I actually wanted to suggest a tweak to that part that's not here.
Okay.
Maybe there's a reason why we're just focusing on the one part.
Thank you. I think that's reasonable and might have been assumed and just summarized incorrectly yesterday. So happy to do that. And it can all be rolled into the meeting. What's happening on the public lands is impacting SLRD property owners, and that responsibility is from identifying it to assessing it to communicating about it.
Okay, and this may push the board to pulling it out, but it's been in my concern is, you know, in terms of the province taking responsibility, which, you know, I feel they theoretically have, the practicality of it because of the size of the province seems impossible. And so are we asking for the impossible, if we're asking for the province to take responsibility for, you know, diking, all these things on Crown land? The other piece, you know, a couple months ago, I pulled an item warning us about drought conditions from the government, said how frustrated it was. There's another one about smoke. I kind of want to pile these in and say, like, there's expense after expense after expense, stuff that you're not taking care of, all to do with climate change, and your economic policy now is driving things that are making this even worse. I've not seen the accounting of how this works. or a plan that puts these pieces, and I'm not saying you're stepping up on this piece. And so for me, would love if we could sort of bring all that together under the conversation.
You two go to.
I want to.
Yes.
I'd love to do that. And I have another one, but I think staff was working on it. It's the problem in our area is just that the fire brigades that have sort of been orphaned between the shifting back and forth of who's gonna be kind of communicating with these groups and not necessarily assuming the liability, but that's what all the back and forth is about. But, you know, the push and pull between regional districts and the province after they, you know, we just turned down the opportunity to participate in the cooperative community wildfire response, and I agree with that decision based on the shifting provincial politics, but I'm seeing staff are working on that, right?
Yeah, there was actually a really good section about that at the CAO chair conversation that I attended in Victoria,
Right,
where the lawyer looked at these volunteer fire departments
yes,
and said, like, look at your indemnification bylaw as regional districts, because it's very, very risky for how they're funded or not funded, sanctioned, not sanctioned.
yeah,
And then who takes on the ownership if someone is tragically hurt or worse, you know, and then if you buy a hose, what's your responsibility to the protection of those fire departments, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a super important conversation that I know is happening at sort of that macro level, but we can support it with advocacy to say regional districts are also concerned about this. So,
yeah, because, well, I get the liability issues, but to do nothing is not really a practical option in some of those areas where there really is nothing else.
yeah.
And, you know, the common sense, understanding that trying to do some initial attack on a small fire before it becomes a very large fire, like these resources are just gonna get stretched thinner and thinner in the climate change situation that we're facing. And the remote rural areas with such a small population are not gonna be considered a high priority, that's for sure. That makes absolute sense from the provincial government point of view, but in the meantime, so that one's an issue for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a UBCM topic.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out what the ask would be.
I
Would
know.
it be funding? Would it be accreditation that's outside of the OFC compliancy? Because I think that is where the legal conversation was, is these. If it was UBC, I'm just trying to figure out what's our request?
I think the resounding and returning resolution at UBCM is that the regional district model is not considered in the OFC framework. And so the chairs have continually asked for them to revise that framework to include regional districts model as something unique and distinct.
That's one way to go. Also, the direct line from the province to the BC Wildfire Service, some of these smaller groups, that made absolute sense to me, and that's what was started on 2 years ago. And then the province stepped away from it. That's my issue.
It's a really murky area, you know. I was thinking of, I mean, the only example, I don't have a number of these, but the one in the upper Squamish Valley, where they got together over the years and acquired some equipment, some pumps, some hoses, all that kind of stuff. They have a building that they store it all in, they practice regularly. And when they had that wildfire out there a couple of years ago, they were fighting that fire alongside BC wildfire. So they were active and effective. But as far as I can make out, they're sort of totally illegal. You know, they have no status, and we, you know, I talked to Mark about it, and we don't have a way of getting in without them coming to us, and I don't know, it's just confusing. What I would like is that we can sit down with that group and say to them, this is what you have to do to be compliant, and this is what we can do, you know, and make. I'm not sure how liable we would be if something happened out there, because in the past, we have given money to be.
Yeah.
No, we haven't recently because of the change in legislation, but we paid for a fair amount of that equipment. And we have had people from Britannia Beach out there to do some training with them as well. So we've had those connections, but yeah.
Okay, so I don't wanna go too far down this path because there's still. And it's an important conversation, but this isn't the place
It's
for
not a place
it.
for it. Fair enough, fair enough.
So, yes, we wanna ask for this meeting, and yes, we'll finalize what we're gonna ask for in the meeting. I think we've got kind of a good framework of what we're.
Thank you. Without Director Phillips here, I wouldn't mind their input. I will say the fire resiliency project, which was the fire services review project, so now the fire services resiliency project, is addressing that. And maybe, and going to have a lot of recommendations, including advocacy to the province. So I'm wondering if we are cart in front of the horse, or if we want to.
Well, let's get that review back in front of us when it's ready.
Yeah.
And then we will have this conversation in advance of September, and if we get the meeting, great. Or we can, I think we wanna ask for the meeting and be told no,
Yeah.
than to not ask for the meeting. We have to wait until
Yeah.
26 to ask for it.
Great.
Is it on this topic or a different topic?
It's the same topic, but the actual issue is that all our small little fire brigades that were growing continually especially in area A and area B, is that the Office of Fire Commissioner decided that all these little fire brigades were going to be incorporated with the Office of the Fire Commissioner. What we need is a whole other standard for fire brigades that are initial attack
But
in
we'll,
wildland fire.
I hear
So,
you,
yeah,
we
that-
can have this conversation right now, though.
no, but I'm,
And that's what the
that's
meeting.
to add into that.
Yes,
That's what it's really all about.
yes, yeah. And we'll flesh out the ask
Yeah.
at a future meeting. Okay. Were there any items on this list that we do not want to request?
We're not gonna get more.
We're likely not gonna get all of these.
No.
We likely might not get half of them,
Let's ask for all of them.
but it's easy to ask. And then not get. Than it is to not ask. Go ahead, Director Stone.
I would appreciate CAO Paul's suggestion of where some of these could be moved to either staff meetings or letters, and so I think the Paradise Valley Road for me could be moved to a staff meeting. I think we did it as a ministry meeting last year.
Year before.
Yes.
And so I think. I know my takeaway from leaving that meeting last year was like there were a few contacts made at the staff level. I think it's just like it's a follow-up item. And I don't think ministry or the minister visibility on it will be that helpful as a push at this point in time where we're at with our advocacy on that particular point. The component around applications to the ALC, I agree, should just be an advocacy letter at this point. And we are broadly asking for a meeting with the Minister of Indigenous Relations, and we could maybe add that as our last item. But that I think is could be moved to an advocacy letter as well. And then I am curious about the bear awareness one, as whether that would be better as a staff meeting versus a minister meeting. I'm just not familiar enough with the content of it.
Pardon me.
Salute.
I think that was,
Requesting an increase in conservation officer budget to provide public outreach for vegetation. Yeah, that could be a minister meeting.
yeah, I think that's a ministry one. Chris, go ahead.
Well, to just, I think regional transit last time was with the premier and Salem and everyone. So if we were asked that again, is it important to not demote ourselves and ask for the premier again? Or do we assume we're at implementation? We talk to the implementation minister. Is that our ask? Would be my one question.
I think we asked for both. I think it's a pretty, like, we're now in momentum, getting our committee with the ministers and the parliamentary secretary, so I think we asked for both.
And then my other one, just on the EDMA one, with those tweaks. I kind of feel like, again, it's the premier's office that's driving the new economic direction or whatever. And so I feel like that's where we need to draw the pieces of impacts, causes and impacts and tie it all together. So my inclination would be to request premier's office, although I know that maybe reduces our chances of getting the
Yeah.
meeting. So I would say maybe premier and Walrus rather than MOTT and Walrus, but
Okay, Sal?
BC Hydro.
Yeah.
They've got the request there.
You okay?
Wrong hole.
The Joy Denham Upgrade Project Liaison Committee. Discussion on it.
Staff? Is it a staff meeting or a minister meeting?
Minister meeting,
Okay, Ministry of Energy,
well.
because it's not, or you want it with BC Hydro, sorry.
Yeah, with BC Hydro.
Okay, so then that would be a staff meeting,
Uh,
isn't it?
Is it the trust or the Lajoli Dam or what's the ask?
Is it on the trust
No.
idea again?
no, not the trust.
Okay, this is on.
Community
operations.
Liaison Committee for
Okay,
the Joy Dam project.
this is new. Is this new?
We talked about it at the 101.
Oh, sorry. Can we take that? Yes,
It needs to be discussed with the higher ups. A good example was just today with Elders.
Mhm.
They need to be on that committee.
Okay. So the committee already exists, or you're
No.
suggesting that they build one?
So I want confirmation basically that it will take place. I've had a verbal agreement, that's all.
Is that a letter then? Can we request a letter confirming, or do you want a meeting with BC
I would
Hydro?
like to meet with them, yeah, talk about it.
Maybe we set that meeting up outside of UBCM then, because then you'll get more time.
Well, it's quick.
Okay. Anyone opposed to that? I don't see any opposed. We'll put that on the list as one to request, and we can take the details offline. Anything else? Go ahead.
Through the chair, in past resolutions, we've also identified who would be at those meetings. So when we book them, we do actually need to say that. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the resolution.
Okay,
But it's something that we do require when we book those meetings.
okay.
May I suggest that the chair and the vice chair and the CAO work together to identify initial names for the meetings? We
Yeah,
often end up swapping them out anyways, but I do know that when you actually submit the application or the request, you have to put names down. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to provide that to you folks to
yeah,
pass off, and then once we actually have a confirmed list of meetings, we can figure it.
yeah, it doesn't need to be.
Because things change before then.
Okay, so with this and in recognition of the time, can we move a resolution to support these requests?
Yep.
So moved by Director Bertrand, second by Director Mayor.
So you're gonna.
You're good? Okay. I'll call the question, all in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. 10.2, This is a request for a letter of support from the Village of Pemberton regarding the Disaster Resilience Innovation Fund. Moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Richmond.
Yeah.
Right?
Go Pemberton.
Go Pemberton. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. This is an interesting one. McDonald Communities Limited has written us a letter requesting that the SLRD board support the following resolution, that the board directs SLRD staff to submit an application to UBCM's priority fund in support of a master plan process for Britain waterfront. A couple weeks ago, I attended a meeting with McDonald Properties with Director Rainbow, with CAO Paul and, oh, no, you weren't there. I've been there so many times recently that
That's your line.
Patrick was there and MLA Valeria was there.
What are you?
And Director Needham was there. That's right.
Good.
And we walked the site and I'd never walked on that side of the waterfront before. And it is very cool.
Is
It's
it on the
gated,
west
so you
side?
can't just walk there. It's not the
Yeah.
west.
Yeah. It's on
It's on the ocean, but
it's on the west side of the
It's
highway.
gated, so you can't just walk down there. So we were sanctioned to do this visit. And we don't encourage the public to go and explore it themselves because there's lots of hazards there. But a very, very cool proposal. So I think this is just the first step in exploring if this is possible. So with that, with
Just
some,
a question, just, and I completely support this, I mean, I hope that they're gonna leave that big barn structure and consider, they have to do a species at risk check first, and you guys obviously, does this company already have control of?
No,
So we're supporting an independent company to do this, that's.
I want to be very clear, we have no, no contract, no partnership with McDonald on this request.
Right.
It's McDonald as a concerned property owner citizen asking for this upgrade. This project would be outside of any partnership with a private developer. And it's only right now applying for a feasibility study. At that point, a lot of these things would be addressed when it
Okay.
comes to.
Okay, good, then I'm with you.
I have a bit of a hesitation with this one and just my thought is, you know, that the mine ended up, it was one of the most productive gold/copper mine in the whole Commonwealth. And yet the public got stuck with, I think in 1990 dollars, $100 million of public money to clean up. There's ongoing costs, it's more public money. And as I understand, this looks out onto the wood fiber site at what is described to me as will be a flare stack equivalent to the Eye of Mordor. So that's what this will look out on. And so is this where I want to say to UBCM, spend a whole bunch of money on something like, is this the place? And you know, is there a mechanism where industry rather than the public is funding whatever happens next?
I agree with you in principle, but you don't care for what you don't understand. And when you see that waterfront, when people are able to be there, if the feasibility says that this makes sense, then we give people access to the waterfront, which currently Sea to Sky Corridor doesn't have much access to the sea. This is looking at helping the Acatsum House Sound and Biosphere Initiative. This gives access to knowledge keepers to seeing all of this space being open to the public. So while I agree with you, I also choose to go that way, look that way. But when you see it, when you don't see it, you don't know it's there. When you don't see that Eye of Mordor, you don't fully appreciate what that looks like. Go ahead.
well, much of what you just said, the proposal includes improvement of the spit where next to the little marina, it's dangerous right now. The drop offs and so on. So it includes some riprap to improve that. It includes removing all of the creosote pilings that are still there, which is to benefit environmentally to marine life in the sound. The money that was raised to clean up Britannia and set up the EPCOR plant came from the mining company. It wasn't public money. The province got something $40 million or whatever it was and establish a fund to do that cleanup. So that and then the work that McDonald's had done in developing the village. I mean, they had to put 2 meters of fill on there, which had the effect of sealing a lot of polluted land and sort of helping with that cleanup. So I think industry has put a fair amount into that. With respect to that building that's there, it's been condemned, and if some action isn't taken soon, it's going to be pulled down. The people in the community would like it preserved. I think it should be preserved as a sort of a part of the heritage of that area. And what McDonald's want to do with it, take the walls off, reinforce it, put a new roof on it, and create a sort of a picnic shelter area for the public. There's already an existing area that is paved that can be used for parking. If you get to that space, you can't really see this from the highway, but the railway goes round the coast, and the gap between the rails and the sea is not crazy. The distance is only a couple of meters. So to put in some riprap there to extend that out and make a walkway, that's a benefit to CN Rail. And it would enable people to walk from Britannia all the way through to Manatee Bay. There's just so many good things about this project that the difficulty is it includes the jurisdictions involved are Ministry of Mines, Ministry of the Environment, Ministry of Transport. It's another ministry, I can't think of it at the moment, CN Rail, and Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Patrick Weiler came on that trip with us, and he and his assistant told me afterwards, we're 100% in support of this. We will work with you, whatever you need to get done with fisheries and with CN Rail. Jeremy Valliere is very supportive of it. So we've got that kind of support, and we've got an offer from a developer.
Wait, let's not go there.
No,
please, 'cause
sorry.
It's not about the developer.
No, it's not.
It's about
No.
the SLRD looking at the feasibility
Yeah.
of this site.
So-
And we can bring this back at a future date. We've
Yeah,
got a
I-
future report coming back about this.
Yeah, my argument in favor of doing this would be that we actually don't have any jurisdiction there at all. We have no SLRD land. Well, we have some. I guess we have if you look at it, but the planning is all. But there's so many other ministries and people that involved in it. And my argument for supporting this would be that it enables us to investigate it properly. It's sort of a third-party investigation, rather than just somebody saying to us, rather than me just saying, here, it'd be a great idea to have a park there. Rather than tourism Squamish saying, hey, this is a real tourism benefit to the area. Have an independent study of it and then report back and.
Okay, so let's ask that we, could you make a motion that we receive the letter? I can open this up for questions.
What is it?
I see Sal,
Actually submit.
that's their request, but they don't direct the board to make resolutions.
Okay, that's
The
what
letter is more of a, we would suggest this. Go ahead, Sal, and then.
So I presume through UBCM, they need a regional district resolution
Yeah.
for the funding.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay,
Right.
and when is the deadline for that fund?
September.
I got
September.
you guys.
Okay, go.
The deadline for this funding is in September, and there's a report coming to the board in July with a number of items that are being recommended for this application. I think that including things like Gold Ridge water system, et cetera. And so the recommendation to receive and refer to staff would work really well.
Okay. Recommendation to receive and refer to staff, please.
Moved by Director Birchjones, seconded by Director Stoner. Comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that this is one of what I am hearing from staff, potentially multiple interesting proposals to apply for this funding pot. And I think we need to have a broader discussion with the board. We're limited on the number of applications we can make to this fund. I have a lot of questions as to how this would actually work. And while I see the vision, I see the importance of this type of planning in this area, it also hasn't been identified as a priority on our staff work plans. And so I think it just requires a more fulsome discussion amongst the other priorities that staff are bringing forward for this particular fund. And I'm happy to have that conversation in July when the report comes back.
You say that faster.
When you watch this playback, you can speak.
Please slow it down.
Or slow down.
Thank you.
Good.
Anyone else? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Any additional late business? There were 2 items that were included in the late package that were already approved at the adoption of this agenda. Therefore, we are now at 12.1 with the correspondence action for reallocation of approved funds from the PVTA, the Permanent Valley Trails Association. I have it here. Did have it here. Thank you. And for the benefit of the recording or the record, the recommendation is to rescind the board resolution of May 28th, 2025, that $4,516 be granted to PVTA from electoral area C amenity funds as matching funds from Canada Parks and Recreation Association Green Jobs Initiative Program to maintain a part-time trail crew position. And then to recommend to consider a new board resolution. So I'll ask for that first motion to rescind. Made by Director Mack, seconded by Director Birch-Jones. All in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Now the new resolution is that $4,516 be granted to PVTA from electoral area C amenity funds towards maintaining 2 part-time crew positions in 2025. Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Mordaunt. Calling the question, all in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Number 12.2, there was a letter sent around. I'm pretty sure everyone got it in their email, but for the benefit of the record, we were all invited to choose to attend the 12th annual resource breakfast series on September 23rd, 24th, and 25th. These are optional suggestions. These are open panel discussions, usually with ministers and ministry staff in attendance to talk about different things. There's climate, there's critical minerals and mining, and there is another topic that is not yet announced. So that is not this is just a motion to receive. It does say correspondence for action, but that's on each of you to choose to go or not. And register yourselves. And if you haven't got the email, let me know and I'll forward it on because there's some registration. So can I have a motion to receive the letter, please? Moved by Director Richmond, second by Director Demare. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any notice of motions? Anyone? Seeing none? Okay, this is where it gets complicated. We don't have to recess. We do go back into closed.
But we just have some recommendations from the committee of the whole.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there was a recommendation from the committee of the whole that it be recommended to the regional board that the request for direction electoral area C zoning bylaw amendment DL 2247 comprehensive development zone be referred back to staff to address the comments and feedback provided by the committee of the whole for discussion with the proponent on the community amenity contributions, and that the results of these discussions be brought back to a future.
Okay, awesome. Moved by Director Stoner, second by Director Rainbow. Pardon?
I just think thank you to Director Belsham for capturing.
Yes, thank you.
Such a clear motion.
All right, all in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, Now I'll ask for a motion that we reclose. Moved by Director Stoner, second by Director Rainbow.